Hi, my name is Rachel Torres and this is Flow on Yoga. And today we're going to go through a short Brahmacharya practice. So what we've been talking about on the Facebook group this week is the yama of Brahmacharya, which means moderation or non-excess. So as we move through this practice today, and it's actually a little bit of a challenging practice, I want you to consider how you can practice moderation and non-excess in this practice, and how using Brahmacharya in your life also means the right use of your energy. So kind of considering as we move through these poses whether doing a certain version or modification to this pose is the right use of energy for you. So whenever you're ready, just find a comfy spot on your mat, towel, blanket, floor, and let's get started. So we're going to start today in seated. Get my hair out of the way. You can either put your hands right here cupping over your knees or maybe palms up, whatever's comfortable for you. And then just take a few moments to bring your awareness inward and start to focus on your inhales and your exhales. If you watched that Ujjayi video that I posted last week, that is the breath that we should be trying to do right now. So mouth closed, breathing in and out through your nose. And I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. Perhaps lengthening and deepening your inhales and your exhales, fully exhaling. And then still keeping that breath deep and steady, maybe begin to bring some awareness to your body and just kind of do a check-in and see how your body's feeling today. See if there's anywhere that's feeling really good, maybe some places that are feeling a little stiff or tight or maybe even sore. And if you do notice any places that are feeling stiff, tight, sore, or pain, just remembering as we move through this practice to be mindful of those areas. And if you have an intention for today's practice, go ahead and bring your awareness to that now. If you don't have an intention, might I offer you the intention of enough. To think throughout this practice that you are enough, that I am enough, that wherever you are today, on your mat, in your life, is enough. So maybe think that to yourself a few times. I am enough. Right where I am, right now. And then we're going to do one more deep inhale. And one more exhale. And continuing to do those deep inhales and exhales, we're going to slowly and mindfully begin to transition into a hands and knees tabletop position. So we want our wrists, elbows, shoulders in a straight line, and then our knees directly under our hips. And then really grounding down into your fingers, kind of feeling a little separation between your shoulders. Some length in your back, looking down to the mat right in front of you. And then on your next inhale, we're going to drop our belly, lift our gaze, feel our shoulder blades getting close together. Maybe we're looking up past our third eye, kind of past that place right here on the center of your forehead. And then on your exhale, we're going to tuck our hips, bring our chin to our chest, feel our shoulder blades moving further apart, and fully exhale. And just keep doing those inhales and those exhales. Feeling free to play a little bit, find some movement in your cat-cow. As long as you keep your breath moving, you can feel free to maybe move your hips from side to side, maybe hold a pose a little longer. Maybe do some neck circles, some shoulder circles. Just whatever feels good to you today. Go ahead and do one more round of that cat-cow. Your own breath. And the next time that we meet up here In this cow position with our gaze lifted and our belly dropped, we're gonna just take a moment to look behind your left shoulder. And then on an exhale, bring it around and look past your right shoulder. Just get a nice little stretch in your neck. And exhale back to center. And then we're going to set it all the way back down into a child's pose. Maybe bring your forehead to the mat. If you've watched my child's pose tutorial video, feel free to take any modifications here or alternates that you would like. And then maybe if you like mudras or part of your practice, maybe here we can do 2 fingers forward, just like this. And this is our prana or our breath mudra. And maybe using this as a way to draw your attention to the breath as the life force of the energy of your body. And just considering how we can use that energy in the best way possible. That's what Brahmacharya is all about. It's about the right use of your energy. And how we don't want to expend our energy on things that do not serve us. So just pausing for a moment here in this child's pose. Try to find some softness and some release. One more deep inhale. And exhale. And then, if you don't already have your palms down, we're going to plant our palms, tuck our toes, and on an inhale, lift our hips back into a down dog. Taking a moment to pedal our feet, maybe readjusting our hands, just finding a comfortable spot that you can hold for just a couple breaths here in this down dog. Find some stillness, maybe feeling your chest relax a little closer to the ground, letting your head and neck go. Hips are lifting, hands are grounding down, and heels are grounding towards the earth. It's perfectly okay if they don't make it there. Just pushing them in that direction. And you can stay right here, or if you want, you can take your right leg and lift it up into a 3-legged dog. And now you can stay right here in this 3-legged dog, or you can bend your knee and stack your hips and kind of open towards the right, making sure to keep the weight centered on your hands, so only stack your hip as far as you can keep your shoulders squared towards the ground and the weight evenly in your hands. And again, you can stay right here, or you can follow along with me, stepping it back, rotating into a wild thing. Got hair in my mouth, so I'm going to fix that. And on an exhale, coming right back into our 3-legged dog, and then straightening out. Then on an inhale, we're going to step our right leg up in between our hands. We're going to set up for a warrior 1, so you may need to bring that back leg in a little closer. I definitely do. About 45-degree angle. Check in as you're coming up the flat back that your hips are squared to the front. If they are not squared to the front, go ahead and adjust any adjustments you need now to get those hips squared to the front. I'm going to take just a second to pop the muff back on my microphone. I lost my adapter cord for my lavalier mic, so we're having to go with this one, and the muff likes to pop off all the time. And so if you want to, you can raise your hands here. I don't really have a lot of overhead space, but I'm going to go ahead and raise my hands. Up into this warrior 1, you want your right knee directly over your right ankle. Take a couple of breaths here. And then as you're ready, what we're going to do is we're going to begin to bring our weight forward into our right foot. May need to shorten your stance a little bit, and you can also feel free to lift the back heel. And what we're going to do is we're going to hinge from the hips, bring our weight into this leg, and we're going to transition forward into a warrior 3. Now, I have this chair here for a reason. I'm going to pull a little bit closer. You can always use a chair or a wall to assist you in pretty much any pose that we do here in yoga. So what we're going to do, if you're using the chair or if you're not, we're just going to begin to hinge forward, straightening the front leg, lifting the back leg, keeping our hips square towards the ground. And then if you're using a chair or the wall, feel free to grab on right here. Maybe you want it a little lower. Maybe you're using a wall. Maybe you're not using the chair at all. There's an ant on my hand. And then if you're not using a chair, a couple different things you can do with your arms here. You can have them back. You can have prayer hands on your hips or reach them out forward. The important thing with this pose is that we're keeping our hips square and that we have a straight line in our body. So what we don't want is like this bowing. So it's okay. Maybe your warrior 3 is right here with your toes touching the ground. That is great. So having that straight line is better than being like this. That's not gonna feel good on your back. So whatever warrior 3 you're doing, just take a moment. I'm gonna bring the chair back so you can see how to use the chair. Take a moment to take one deep inhale and one deep exhale. And then what we're gonna do, whether you're using the chair or not, is we're gonna bring our left knee up and through. There's a tree here, so I'm actually gonna step back so my head's not in the tree. So our left knee up and through. Maybe pulling your knee in here, maybe touching it down here if that's what you need to do. And then we're gonna prepare for tree. I'm gonna turn and face you so you can see what I'm doing. So for tree pose, maybe your knee is still lifted, maybe it's not. You can either start right here with your toes on the ground, maybe right here on your shin. Make sure not ever touching your knee, so if it's not here, you can lift all the way up here to your thigh. You want your knee going out towards the side, like your hips gently encouraging this leg back, keeping your hips stacked, so not leaning one way or the other, really grounding down through this standing foot. Maybe your hands stay here, maybe they're here, maybe you want to grow your tree. I would grow my tree right into this tree, so I'm going to skip that and stay right here. And just take a moment here to feel strong and supported in whatever version of tree that you are doing today. Maybe check in and make sure that you still have those deep and flowing inhales and exhales through your nose. And on your next inhale, we're going to very slowly let it go. And you can either touch your toes down, or if you want, you can just lift your leg right back up. Give it a little squeeze, maybe grabbing the big toe and stretching it out, or maybe even going out to the side. Or maybe if you dropped your leg, just kind of working your legs out a little bit here. And then what we're gonna do, I'm gonna come back up here to the front of the mat to show you next, wherever your toes are, whether they're here or here, if they're out in front of you, go ahead and let them go back to here. We're gonna, with some control, step our left foot back into this lunging position for just a moment. Then we're gonna turn our toes so they're facing the long edge of your mat. We're gonna start with this foot, and then we're just gonna slowly walk it around, maybe taking a moment to pause here in this forward fold. That can feel really good. Just kind of release and find some extension through your back. And then we're gonna walk it on around, flipping our toes facing the back of our mat now. Our left foot should be right in between our hands. Then we're gonna step our left foot back into a down dog. And then we're gonna do everything we just did on this other side now. So taking just a moment here to pause and breathe in your down dog, and maybe you wanna kind of stretch it out a little bit. And on your next inhale, we're gonna lift our left leg up. And then staying right here if you want, or if you want to, open your hips out to the side. And then only if you want, flipping around, join me in Wild Thing. Making sure, and I'm sorry I didn't mention this, making sure that if you are doing this, you're keeping your hips lifting towards the sky, not sinking down, but lifting up. Really pushing up through your arm that's on the ground as well. And on an exhale, right back into that three-legged dog. And then on your next exhale, bringing your left foot back up between your hands, setting up for that warrior one. And I have more room to raise my arms up on this side because the tree is not right above me. So up into our warrior one. Maybe pausing here for just a moment, checking in with your hips and your feet, really feeling that all corners of both feet are grounding down into the mat, that our knee of our left leg is right over our ankle. And then on an exhale, Begin to shift our weight towards our left leg, come up to our toes or our back leg, maybe shorten our stance a little bit, and then just begin to slowly hinge from the hips into whatever version of the Warrior 3 that you want to try today. Again, feeling free to use that chair or that wall like I showed you on the other side. Maybe taking a moment to pause here and consider why you're choosing the version of this pose that you're doing right now. And maybe consider if a different one might be appropriate for you today. If what version that you're doing, remember this is an option right here. Again, if you have that chair, using that chair, hands back, hips here. And maybe considering if a different version of that pose may be a better use of your energy today. And then on your next exhale, we're going to bring the right leg up. Again, touching down your toes at any time you need to. And we're going to set up for that tree pose. So if you have your leg lifted and you want to go straight into right here on your thigh, just go for it. Also remember you can be on your calf or toes on the ground. Just remember no pressure on your knee. Those hips straight, not going to one side or the other, really grounding down through the standing leg. We pick a drishti, a focal point to look at. And just pause here and check in with your breath. Just as I asked in the last pose we did, that Warrior 3, if that was the appropriate use of your energy in the version of that pose you're in, maybe consider other places in your life where there's a better use of your energy. Maybe things that you have in your life right now that don't serve you, that are not a good use of your energy. Or maybe there are things that could use your energy that are not getting the attention they deserve. So just maybe cultivating some awareness, kind of exploring and asking some questions about, are there places in my life where I can use my energy in a better way, a way that serves me better than the way I'm doing it now? Just cultivate some curiosity. Be willing to ask those questions. Maybe we don't come up with an answer today. That's fine. It's a hard question. Just pause and give it some consideration. One more deep inhale and exhale, letting that leg go slowly with control. Again, touching your toes down, or maybe you want to grab with your big toe and stretch it out. My hip's a little tight on this side today, so I can't really go very far. Again, opening up to the side if you want. And then as you're ready, with control, we're going to step that right leg back, kind of in this lunge position right now. Bring your hands down to frame your left foot, and then begin to walk it towards your front foot through the center. And then we're going to be in that low lunge right on the other side. So our toes are all facing this way, right leg's forward, knee over your ankle. And I'm going to move this chair out of the way because I don't need it anymore, and it's probably going to get in my way. And what we're going to do is on an inhale, we're going to step forward, keeping your knees bent. We're going to lift up into a chair. So trying to keep those knees over your ankles, sit your hips back. And you can stay right here in this chair if you want, or if you want to play with a little bit of an arm balance, you can move into a crow from here. And so what you're going to do if you want to try this, I'm actually going to step back a little bit so my hands will stay on the mat. So we're going to bring our hands down to the ground, keeping our hips high. Find a place, really plant your hands into the ground just like we do with that down dog or a plank where your fingers are really pressing down into the earth. And bring your knees up towards your armpits, and then just gonna slowly, maybe one foot, maybe both, bring them up off the ground. Gaze stays in front of you. And if you lose your balance here and find yourself down here, maybe you can come into it straight from down here, but it probably will be easier if you pick your hips up first and then come back into it again. And if you have blocks, you can always use the blocks to stand on to give you a little height in your feet. You can use some pillows or some blankets to put right down here under your head to give you something to rest your head on. So just play around with it a little bit. And again, just kind of coming here and doing one foot and then the other is also great. Or maybe you can fly up into that crow today, Bakasana. Wherever you are, we're going to go ahead, work our way back up into that chair. And then either from here, you can bring your hands here. Maybe you need to straighten your legs out. That's great too. But I'm going to give a little challenge, only if you want to accept it. If not, just straighten your legs and begin making your way down to a seat. Or if you want to come with me here, we're going to stay in this chair. We're going to begin to bring our weight up into our toes. Lift, lift, lift those heels. And then slowly begin to sit back. My legs are shaking. I don't know if you can see that on the video or not, but they definitely are. Down into a squat and bring our hands down to the sides and just work our way into a seated position. Maybe shake our legs out a little bit and the back up. Bring the soles of our feet together, just like this. Knees falling out to the side. Into our Baddha Konasana, our bound angle or cobbler's pose. Also sometimes called butterfly. So we always called it in gym growing up. You can just flap your wings here. Maybe using your elbows to give just a little bit of gentle pressure to open your hips a little more if that feels good for you. And maybe you're staying right here sitting up straight, or maybe keeping a lot of length in your spine, hinging from your hips, keeping your tailbone grounded. You want to lean forward. And again, while you're leaning forward, you can use your elbows to continue applying that gentle pressure. Or maybe you want to reach your arms out in front of you. Maybe you can bring your forearms down to the ground. I cannot bring my forearms down to the ground. My hips are too tight. But maybe you can. Once you get to a place where you feel a good stretch, some strong sensations but no pain, maybe there you can let your head and neck go. And check in with your breath. And soften and release here. And then wherever you are, slowly and with control on an inhale, just begin to walk back up to seated. Our hands on the outside of our knees together, soles of feet on the ground. And then either using your hands on your knees as some support, or maybe you just want to reach out here. We're going to very, very slowly, with control, begin to lower down one single vertebrae at a time until we're all the way down on the ground. We did a lot of work with our legs today, so let's give those legs a little gentle stretch, side to side, windshield wipers. Knees fall to the right, then the left. Just like that. And it should feel really good after all that work we just did with our legs. The next time you come up through center, we're going to pause and we're going to take our right ankle, put it over our left thigh, just like this, kind of like a figure 4 shape if you stretched your leg out. And you can stay right here, or if you want a little bit more of a stretch, you can lift your knee, your left knee, maybe interlacing your hands behind your thigh, or maybe giving some support to your right knee and your right foot, maybe giving it a gentle tug a little closer in towards your face. Also maybe giving some pressure from this leg. So whatever arm position feels good to you. Maybe straightening out that left leg if that feels good. I actually feel like I get less of a stretch when I do that, so I usually keep my leg bent. And then on an exhale, we're gonna lower your left leg, and then we're gonna take our right foot and just bring it towards the earth on the left side of our body. Should be a nice stretch through your legs and a nice stretch through your lower back. And you can leave your hands on your belly. Maybe you stretch them out to the side. Maybe take your gaze over towards your right hand. Make sure you're still doing those deep, steady breaths through this twist. On an exhale, we're gonna bring our legs back to center and then switch it up. So left ankle over right thigh. If you want, bringing your right leg up, maybe interlacing behind your right thigh or giving some support to the left knee and the left foot with your hands. Maybe straightening out the right leg. Just play around and see which one gives you the stretch that you're looking for right now. And you can always leave this leg down too. And then On an exhale, lowering the right foot and then bringing the left foot over towards the right. Stretching your arms out wide or keeping them on your belly. And then maybe bringing your gaze over your left hand towards your left palm. And on your next exhale, bringing your feet back up through center, releasing that left leg. And then either choice for you here, you can either do this windshield wiper here, or maybe you wanna bring your knees in and hug them towards your chest. And you can either find some stillness here, maybe bringing your forehead towards your knees, or you can rock from side to side or back and forth, or maybe even do some hip circles. Making sure that if you're doing those circles, that if you're going in one direction, to pause and go in the other direction as well. I was really worried it was going to rain all day today and I wouldn't be able to film this video, and so I'm very, very happy about how lovely the weather has turned out to be. It said 70% of rain today, but just lucky accident, I guess. Happy accident, as Bob Ross would say. And wherever you are, find some stillness for just a second, maybe curling in real tight into a ball, or maybe just resting with the soles of the feet on the ground and your knees up. We'll take one deep inhale together and side out through our mouths. And inhale. Loud, audible exhale. And one more time, deep, full inhale. And sigh it out. You can stay right here for your Shavasana. You can bring the soles of your feet together into that Supta Baddha Konasana, the reclined bound angle or cobbler's pose, if you like that. Or you can begin to stretch your feet out towards the corners of your mat or laying on your side. I have a video about this, so there's a lot of different options here. Taking time to grab any props that you need to get yourself comfy. And just finding whatever your version of Shavasana is today. Maybe your hands are on your belly. Maybe they're out towards your side. Maybe you need to tuck your shoulders a little closer together behind your back. Just finding some softening and releasing here. It's a great place to think about the right use of our energy and how in this pose there needs to be no tension in our muscles. The ground is there to hold us up, and so we can just let go of any energy we are using to try to hold our bodies up and just see if we can soften and release. So maybe doing a quick body scan, starting with the top of your head and your forehead, and just noticing any places where you're holding any tension, and just try to soften and let go. So your forehead, space between your eyebrows, your eyes and your cheeks, your jaw and your throat. Just soften. Your shoulders, your chest, your arms, your hands and your fingers, your belly, and your hips, and your thighs, behind your knees, your calves and your shins, your ankles and your feet, and your toes. Soften, let go. Now I invite you, if you have the time, to press pause on this video and spend another 8 to 10 minutes in this Shavasana, just taking in the benefits of this final resting pose. And if you don't have time, go ahead and join me as we begin to transition into our final seated position to close out the practice. So wherever you are, begin to find a little bit of gentle movement, wiggling your fingers and your toes, maybe finding some movement in your ankles and your wrists. Just bring some awareness back to your body and your breath. And then begin to slowly transition onto whichever side is your favorite. And I'm gonna make my way over to my left and be facing all of you, maybe using your top arm as a pillow. Just taking a moment to take a few breaths here in this side-lying fetal position. Then maybe using your top arm to assist you and maybe straightening out that top leg. Transition up into a seated position. Have an audience from the window. Just finding whatever a comfortable seat is for you, whether that's cross-legged, maybe sitting on some blocks, a blanket or a pillow, or maybe sitting with your legs up underneath you or even to the side. Just whatever feels good for you. We're gonna keep our hands down here by our sides for a minute. We're gonna do a couple lifting our arms and breaths. So whenever you're ready, you're gonna inhale, lift. Maybe lifting the gaze, maybe not. Exhale, hands through heart center. And inhale, lift. Exhale, hands through heart center one more time. And exhale, hands through heart center. Thank you all so much for joining me for this practice today. I hope you all truly do know that wherever you are today, wherever you are in your practice, wherever you are in your life, that you are truly enough, wherever you are. And thank you so much for practicing with me. I hope to see you all again soon. The light in me honors the light in each and every one of you. Namaste.